"You can't park that here." Those were the first words she ever said to me. Not hello, not welcome to the neighborhood, just a rule, delivered like a verdict. It was late afternoon, the kind where the sun goes soft and gold and everything smells like warm pine and wet dirt. My street is a dead end tucked into a fold of hills. No through traffic, no noise except cicadas and the distant hum of lawnmowers. I chose this place because it was quiet, because no one bothered you, because after years of courtrooms and fluorescent hallways, I wanted a life that moved slowly and left me alone. My routines were small and steady: coffee on the porch before work, evening walks along the creek, weekends fixing whatever the last storm knocked loose. I wasn't trying to disappear, just trying to breathe. Her name was Denise, HOA president, lived 3 houses down in a brick colonial with perfect hedges and a flag that never moved, even when the wind was strong. She stood at the edge of my driveway that day, arms crossed, lips tight, eyes already measuring me. I said, "It's just my friend. He's helping me move a couch." She pointed at the curb. "Guest vehicles aren't allowed on the street longer than 15 minutes. It's in the bylaws." He'd been there maybe 5. I apologized, moved the truck into my driveway, thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. After that, little things started showing up. A warning sticker on my trash bin because the lid wasn't fully closed, a notice about unapproved exterior modifications when I planted wildflowers along the fence, a complaint about noise when I ran my leaf blower at noon on a Saturday. Always formal, always typed, always unsigned, but I knew where they came from. Still, I told myself it was nothing. Every neighborhood has someone who takes the rules too seriously. If I stayed polite and compliant, it would blow over. Then my brother came to visit. He drives a battered silver pickup, scratches on every panel, the kind of truck that looks like it's lived a life. He parked in front of my house because my driveway was full of lumber from a repair project. We were inside measuring a wall when we heard the crash. Not a scrape, not a bump, a full, sickening crunch of metal. We ran outside. Denise was standing there with her SUV angled into the side of his truck, like she'd clipped it pulling out of her driveway. But the way the metal folded told a different story. This wasn't an accident, this was impact. She didn't even look surprised. She just said, "I told you about guest parking." My brother's door was crushed inward, glass everywhere. His jaw dropped. I said, very calmly, "You hit his truck." She lifted her phone, already recording. "Your guest violated HOA policy. Vehicles in violation may be towed or removed at owner's expense." Removed? With her car. I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger exactly, more like a door closing. I said, "We're calling the police." She smiled, small, tight. "Go ahead." The officer who arrived took statements, but Denise had already framed it as an accident. No witnesses, private property, civil matter. She drove away with a dented bumper. My brother's truck was totaled. That night, sitting on my porch in the dark, listening to frogs in the creek, I finally admitted what I'd been avoiding. This wasn't about rules. This wasn't about parking. This was intentional, and it wasn't going to stop. If you like the video, please subscribe. The fines started coming weekly after that. Trash, lawn height, fence color, things I'd never been cited for before. I paid the first few. I wanted peace, not war. Then came the letters about non-compliance hearings. I went to one, sat in a folding chair in the community clubhouse, while Denise and 2 board members I barely knew flipped through papers like I was a problem to be managed. She talked about me like I wasn't in the room. Pattern of disregard, hostile behavior toward leadership, repeated violations. I said, "I follow the rules. I have proof. I take pictures. I keep records." She smiled again. "We'll take that under advisement." They voted to increase my fines. Neighbors started acting different. Conversations cut short when I walked up, curtains shifting when I stepped outside. Someone posted on the community board that I was unstable and harassing the HOA. I stopped going on walks, stopped sitting on the porch. It felt like the walls were slowly closing in. I filed a complaint with the HOA management company. They forwarded it to the board, which meant it went straight back to her. Then she escalated. One morning I came home from work to find a tow truck lifting my car. "Unauthorized vehicle modification," she said, standing there with her clipboard. "Your bumper has damage that's against aesthetic guidelines." The damage was from a grocery cart. I argued. I begged. I stayed calm. Didn't matter. They towed it anyway. I had to pay to get it back. That night, I sat on my kitchen floor and cried for the first time since I moved there. Not loud, just quiet tears, staring at the wall, feeling stupid for thinking silence could protect me. That's when I stopped trying to make her like me and started paying attention instead. I installed cameras, front yard, backyard, doorbell. I started saving every letter, every email, every voicemail. And then I noticed something. Her rules didn't apply to everyone. Her cousin parked overnight all the time. Her own lawn violated height limits regularly. One of the board members ran a business out of his garage, which was strictly prohibited. Selective enforcement. That's when I called my friend Mark. We'd known each other since law school. He'd gone into prosecution. I'd burned out and taken a quieter legal-adjacent job reviewing contracts. He listened while I talked, didn't interrupt. Then he said, "This sounds like abuse of authority and possibly fraud." He offered to look at the HOA financials. That's when things got interesting. Turns out Denise had been approving payments to companies owned by relatives. Landscaping, repairs, consulting. All overpriced, all poorly documented. We found fake invoices, duplicate charges, money missing. Meanwhile, she was building a case against me. She filed for a lien on my house over unpaid fines. Public notice went up. Neighbors stopped waving entirely. Then she pushed harder. I came home one evening to find a notice taped to my door. Eviction proceedings initiated. That was her endgame. Drive me out. Take my house cheap at auction. Clean slate. I called Mark, shaking. He said, "Good, she's getting sloppy." I didn't feel good. I felt like I was losing. Then my brother's truck case came back around. Insurance finally ruled it wasn't an accident. Impact angle, speed, intentional. They forwarded it to the county, which is when Mark told me something I hadn't fully processed before. He wasn't just a prosecutor, he was the district attorney, and he had been waiting. We staged my defeat carefully. I stopped contesting fines, let the lien stand, let eviction move forward. She got bold, started telling people she'd handled me, that I was finally being dealt with. Then she made her mistake. She confronted me on camera, on my driveway. She said, "You should have left when I gave you the chance." I said, "Why are you doing this?" She said, "Because people like you think rules don't apply to you, and I make sure they do." And then she added, "And because no one ever stops me." That clip went straight into evidence. The court date was set. She showed up confident. I showed up quiet. She thought she'd won. The hearing was supposed to be about unpaid HOA fines. It turned into something else entirely. Mark didn't sit with me. He stood when the judge called his name, introduced himself formally, then he started presenting evidence, financial records, invoices, video footage. The room shifted. Denise's lawyer tried to object. Too late. Then came the truck incident. Photos, insurance findings, witness statements, intentional property damage, filing false reports, harassment. And finally, the recordings. Her voice clear as day, because no one ever stops me. The judge's expression changed. Then the bailiff moved. She didn't even realize she was being arrested until the cuffs were on her wrists. She started shouting about betrayal, about conspiracies, about how everyone was against her, but no one listened. The HOA board resigned within a week. Management took over temporarily. My lien was removed. My fines were refunded. Denise was charged with fraud, vandalism, and abuse of authority. Her cousin's companies were investigated. It all unraveled faster than I expected. After everything was settled, my street got quiet again. Not tense quiet, just normal quiet. I fixed the fence, replanted the wildflowers, started sitting on my porch again. One evening, my brother came by in a new truck, parked right on the street. No one said a word. I realized something then. I never wanted power, never wanted control. I just wanted peace. But sometimes peace doesn't come from staying silent. Sometimes it comes from standing still long enough for the truth to catch up. I still believe in being kind, still believe in minding my own business, but I also believe in keeping records and knowing when quiet has turned into permission. So if you've ever had someone try to bully you with rules or paperwork or a smile that doesn't reach their eyes, if you've ever felt isolated because doing the right thing made you inconvenient, you're not crazy and you're not alone. Sometimes justice is slow, but it has a long memory. Have you ever had to stand your ground when it would have been easier to walk away? I'd really like to hear you.